All right. First of all, I want to just say one really quick thing. It's been 5 weeks since I've been in front of this group, and I apologize for that. December 17th, we flew Dana up from Houston to introduce her to the group in advance of her starting yesterday. And I had the flu and lost 15 pounds in 3 days and was super sick. And then I followed that up with another virus, and I was on the floor for like 2 weeks, and then we went into 2 weeks of Christmas and New Year's, and then last week I was on a pre-scheduled vacation that was booked months ago, and so it's just been an extended period of time, and so for that I apologize. It was just a function of bad luck. Yeah.
There's no Ozempic out there if you're trying to lose weight faster.
Yeah, right. So one of the things I did say to you is that I was going to bring you guys my economic insights and housing insights as what's going on. And so I'll do that today. But first up, before we start, let's just give a little round of applause. Dana. So Dana's officially in the house. She moved in. She's in a house in New Berlin down near the Princeton Club. Her kids are going to Eisenhower schools. Today is day one. Right?
They have school, well, kind of. They have exams all this week, yeah. So they only are going for like a couple hours because we already did our final exams and our semester end. So they officially start next Tuesday. But they went and did like their Chromebooks and tours and lockers and all the things.
But the beautiful thing about it is she's coming in, help us, right, grow this place and serve you guys in an incredibly high level. And she's doing it from the core market of like where we try to serve, right? Doing it from a place in the New Berlin market, and we're incredibly excited to have you. This is a perfect example of Dana's energy. So she leaves Houston, I don't know, a week or so ago.
Yeah.
Decides to rent a 26-foot straight truck and drives it herself through 2 different snowstorms to get up here into Milwaukee. And if you can pull that off.
Well, my movers canceled on me last minute. So I had movers that were actually picking up my stuff and driving it. And because of the snowstorm, they were scared. So I was like, screw that, I'll drive it myself. I figured what was so bad about it. So I had my kids' cars shipped here. And then they drove my van behind me, and I drove the truck here.
Wow. So if she could, yeah, right. If she could pull that off, you're the keys to the kingdom, rock and roll.
Meanwhile, she's texting me, how do you drive in snow? I say, do you have a snow feature? And she's like, are you joking? I'm like, no.
No, I thought he was pulling my leg.
Our cars have snow feature here.
No. Yeah.
Well, the other funny thing is, so her very first responsibility is one-on-ones with the roster. So she's working through that. She's driving up here and she texts me. She's like, hey, so it's a little harder than I thought to text and drive and phone call and drive. At the same time, I knew she was driving a 26-foot straight truck. I'm like, sister, put the fucking phone down. Get here. That can happen once you're here safe and on stable ground.
I made 13 calls.
So. All right. But incredibly excited to welcome Dana to the Milwaukee Southwest family. Through the interview process, she was very eager about the opportunity that this place presents itself for her, not only of what she can do personally in growing her family and taking kids, 1 kid in middle school, 2 kids in high school, and the lessons that can be learned in moving across the country and meeting new friends, but also like the professional aspect of, coming into a bigger market with a great opportunity and seeing what she can do with it to test her mettle. And so we're incredibly excited to welcome her into the leadership team. And so she's on day 2. And so welcome. So just a couple other leadership updates for the group. Now that Dana's here, one of the things that we were kind of cobbling together and holding it is, front desk, agent services, those sorts of things. It was very important to me that we want to make sure that the leader who's leading the location comes in and you can help identify and find talent and build her team out. And the challenge is if I go out and build her team out for her and then say, hey, here's your team, if it's not the right dynamics for her, And so we've been, you might have seen some public announcements of like, hey, we're hiring. We've been collecting and identifying talent and filtering through talent, but a piece of it was making sure that Dana, Michelle, Kathleen, those that know this place, but also know what she knows, what she needs in order to be successful. She had the opportunity to do so. So we're actively in that process. And anybody that's looking for opportunity, I made my phone. Let us know, like, because we're actively looking to grow. And I appreciate the agent's patience during a time while everyone's like, wait, what's going on? And Brooke, you've been incredibly kind even after transitioning. Team of just helping out here and there. Danique has been incredibly helpful. And sometimes I wanted to make sure that we were setting Dana up for success, not forcing her a team that might work and might not work. So appreciate your guys' patience with us, and we're going to get this thing rocking and rolling now that Dana's here, and we're going to get charging the storm. Cool?
Yep.
Comments, questions, feedback there?
I do want to hijack one time okay, so one thing we always have done is kicked off our meeting with bucket fills, and I'd love to bring that back to the office here, just to start off with like something you're thankful for. If you're not familiar with bucket fills, obviously it's just that filling someone's bucket. Maybe they opened a house for you, maybe they did an open house for you, maybe they took a call for you, helped out with a client, answered a question, but it's just that time to give gratitude to others. So I wanted to start off with thank you for Scott and Tina and Jeff and Alex and Michelle and you, Charlie, just everybody that's been helping answer all the questions and get everything set up for me. I really appreciate it. So, yeah. And now I would love for y'all to share bucket fills if you have any, just as a quick, the last couple weeks, anything that anyone has done for you.
Got to watch the Eagles. The Packers.
We are ungrateful for that.
I'm not sure that's gonna count.
So now Robbie and I have a bet. I wanted to bet him before this. He won the bet. Whoever loses, he can be my butler. I didn't actually agree.
I have one.
We can have some fun with it.
Our team we have a lot of transitions going on right now, and Kathleen has been such a godsend for me when it comes to command and adding in a lot of people into command and merging things. So very grateful.
I love that. Awesome. Jessica.
I also just want to thank Kathleen for everything. I went up to her today and I said, "Are you busy?" And I'm like, "That is the stupidest question." So just Kathleen for literally everything he's doing. Love that.
All right.
Anybody else?
I can do Brooke and Tanika. I know we already said their names, but really, you guys have no idea what they've done for us the last month, even just as much as like, because like, I'll handle all the expensive parts, you don't really have to do that, you know, like just I'll run and get plates and napkins, and Tanika just has, like, she literally put her business on hold for a month, and we could not have done it.
Yeah, I love the family dinner.
Rochelle?
Okay, so I have a list here. So first, Kathleen, she's someone who, when I reach out, she gets back to me right away. Compliance, I love them. Thank you. John, when I had a problem, he let me know some things. Same with Gustavo and Katie and the whole KW team when they sent me flowers for my
Sue?
I want to thank Michelle and Brooke for sending out information and baking for today's lunch.
And to all of you for all the food.
Yeah. Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Matt?
I wanted to thank Dawn again for helping me with my panic button this morning. 7 o'clock, she got back right away. And for Ed for bringing a Meyer to my
Nice. Cool. Thanks. Yeah.
He's not in the room, but Joe Sinkshine. He has been putting his foot on my neck as we go through a very difficult transaction, and we're going to on Thursday. It's always somebody in the office who I have like the most disastrous transactions with.
At least you know.
Yeah, no, it's like somebody who can give me some bricks.
Cool.
Not doing one person.
Awesome. Love it. Feel free to hijack whatever you want.
Nope.
It's yours. Mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives that, I think for us, I think Dana's story is like a great example of like, she did something for so long within the KW network, and now she's looking to grow, and KW is a great place for opportunity, and we're grateful to have you here. So, all right, a few office updates. As a reminder, this is kind of the wonky part of the year where we have the holidays, then we're open, and then we have a day off again, or not day off, but more so in observation of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So the office will be closed next week, Monday. Agents have access to the office 24/7 via their key fobs. Just as a reminder too, the federal holidays, so there's banking, post office, everything will be closed next Monday. Most of us who have kids are off on school. So just please plan accordingly. And then because of the federal holiday on Monday, we will not have team meeting on the following Tuesday. Then we'll pick it back up again and go into a regular date. Cool. Yes, Sue.
Speaking of key fob, I think we just learned that key fob not only opens our office, but all the other offices.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone knows that, but I just know that. Oh, here's
Yeah. Yeah. All
Stay out of my office.
All right. If you moved in 2024, we're in tax prep season. We gotta let Michelle or Kathleen at the front desk know so that we can update your information. These guys actually already have expense reporting already done. We're working on 1099s. Anything you need from a tax standpoint, please let us know. But most importantly, if you moved, we also need to know. And I know a few of you moved. You want to know why? I got my Christmas card came back. And so I brought them all into the office, and then I gave them to Jen Turner. I said, Jen, here's all the people who moved. Let's follow up with them. So, all right. Congratulating a handful of cappers who capped in the month of December. Give it up for boys. Next up, the dynamic Dumu, Jeremy. Where is he? Punta Cana? Dominican.
Somewhere not here.
Scott Claus back in the saddle. Those guys had LRG just had their best December ever with 16 deals, 18 deals in the month of December. So congrats, guys. Defender Dawn. Mr. Zach Shipley. Sheila Smith. There's a theme here. Mark Smith. Awesome. Congrats, guys. Great month of the year to cap. And look forward for, using the example of LRG or some of the stuff that Willie's been doing, or Smith's, keep knocking down doors. You can have success in December. Great testing. So, during what people would perceive to be a slow month, make it happen. So, all right, tech and marketing updates. I've got it today because Kathleen and Lindsay were unavailable. But wanted to help you guys understand and realize that we have, through our partnerships with local print companies, have, one of the ways we've been trying to help you guys elevate what you're doing is, whether it's the listing presentations or buyer presentations, whether you unibind it, whether you use the expensive unibind equipment, or we've also partnered with the print companies to put together essentially what I would consider to be like in a magazine format. These are $2.50 at one of our local print shops. We've negotiated economies of scale with how many of these that we print, at a very economical cost to you guys. We ordered 50 of them on Friday, and they were ready by Tuesday for a group that was looking for these. And so we'll have these as examples within the offices. And you can order these through the KW Marketing Concierge at any time. So enhance your listing and buyer presentations. Most of our top groups and teams are utilizing it. And you want to know another cool way? Hint, hint. Because of the format of these, you could also format in your vendor partners as a way to showcase your preferred partners or your preferred lists whether it's your movers, your landscapers, your stagers, or whatever else in between. It's a great way to utilize this as a resource. Cool? Awesome. So you can request yours today through the QR code, or feel free to shoot the kwmkemarketing@gmail.com, and one of our team members will help you pull that together. Sound good? Love it. All right. Tech and marketing training coming up. We had a little bit of a break during the holidays, but it's coming back up on January 16th. We're doing database cleanup. On the 23rd, it's successful smart pans. And on the 30th, we have agent sites. And just as a reminder, because we have Ignite going on right now, what is typically normally done at noon, these have been pushed back slightly to 1 p.m. on Thursdays. Cool. Few compliance updates. Defender Dawn.
No, I don't have a ton today. Just a heads up that we realized that the forms that were in the WRA's library from MLS, so the excluded and delayed listing forms that were in the WRA zip forms library, were old versions of them. So if you have used those recently, you may get a kickback from MLS saying you need to do this on an updated form. We're working to get those updated right now. So just
Beautiful.
that's it.
Simple.
Nice and simple.
All right.
Yeah.
Defender Dawn, ladies and gentlemen. All right, training and education. One thing I want to point out, I'll tell you this. You guys know I'm a data-driven decision maker. The best investment of your time, energy, and resources in terms of productivity is Ignite. Ignite is going on right now. We have the last 2 years have been rotating Ignite by location. The current quarter, it is in the North Shore office. And the panelists of Ignite teachers and presenters is a cross-section from a variety of the different market centers. Here's my challenge to the group. Right now, we have about 30 to 40 people that are regularly showing up on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If there's someone on this list that you really desire to learn from, that's the beauty of Ignite because of the diversity of thought and diversity of approach. So if you want to learn about what makes Mackenzie, or Dawn, or Steve Law, someone who's been in the business for 18 months and is absolutely killing it, like, feel free to jump into Ignite session, whether you attend one session or all 12. For those that have committed to all 12, my challenge to you is this. The world is run by those who show up, and there's a direct correlation to those who show up and do the activities and the results that they see in their income. And if you're not in the whole class from an Ignite standpoint, you're welcome to attend if you want to learn from Ashley or Amanda or Ethan or Michaela, because these are really talented people that are in the trenches with you, and you can learn from the diversity of thought approach. Cool? Sweet. Because we have Ignite running, our January calendar is somewhat light from a standpoint of external and different things. Just as a reminder, observation of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we won't have a team meeting next week, and there's no team, or sorry, we are closed on Monday and no team meetings on Tuesday. All right. Also, for your calendars, on January 29th, here in the Southwest location, we're hosting a blood drive for Versity in the Blood Center of Wisconsin. Feel free to register today and donate blood. I think we've done this up here a handful of times, and looking forward to making an impact for our community and Versity.
Can you extend that to our sphere or?
You absolutely may. You could use it as a client event.
This started as a client event. That's how we're.
Yeah, they will
Put
be.
the playbook for it in the Facebook.
Sweet. And then lastly, from a training and education standpoint, is upcoming in Vegas is Family Reunion. I'll tell you personally, I think it's one of the best events you can go to within the industry of 10,000 to 15,000 of your best friends. Here's the thing. The reason why I say it's the best event, it's a choose your own adventure based on what you want to get out of the time you spend there. Okay. What do I mean by that? It's all a la carte based on how you want to build and develop your business. You don't have to sit in a room and learn about social media if social media isn't a part of your business. You don't have to learn it's not a part of your business. You get to choose based on the breakouts what you want to do, or if there's someone there that you really want to learn from across the country, you go sit down and say, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee or grab a beer. The other piece of it is this is a very real example. When we were in New Orleans a few years ago, there was a KW Milwaukee agent who went. Her sole purpose was networking. She ended up having 4 referral deals that came to her in the 6 months afterwards. 1 referral deal paid for her whole trip. The other 3 were all incremental returns on her investment of her time, energy, and resources. Highly recommend it. Last year, I think we sent about 75 people from Milwaukee to family reunion. And Vegas is a very easy place to get to. Cool. Beautiful. All right.
Oh, good question.
Yeah. Anybody going to the Glover event in Phoenix?
We've got 9 of us on our.
9 people going to Glover.
Yeah.
Love it.
They're great events too, especially because they're smaller scale. So if you really want to plug in and you're scared to go to like a bigger family reunion or mega camp event, I would recommend getting in front of a Glover event because it's typically anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 people max. And so it's the same kind of content, but just on a smaller scale. So it gets you put in the door.
It's great.
I actually was going, but because of timing and everything, I'm gonna go to Traverse City instead.
All right. Save the date. Wednesday, February 12th, 11 a.m. at Maddie's. We're running back Agent Awards. And I'll tell you, last year's Agent Awards, I would say, was one of the most impactful in terms of this community and how people showed up and how they presented the awards on behalf of their peer and what people shared about what they knew about their peer and what people accomplished was one of the coolest parts about it. And so, you know, we'll of course recognize productivity and the major things that you guys accomplish professionally. But one of the beauties of awards is the peer-to-peer recognition of what you love and trust and respect about your peers and what your peers say about you if you receive an award or what you say about your peers if you get an award. And so Wednesday, February 12th at Maddie's. Cool. All right. Last thing I'll say about this is this week you'll be getting an email survey for the Superlative Awards. Would love your participation and want to nominate your fellow peers. Cool. All right. So you want me to get into the 25 economic predictions or what we're seeing?
Sure.
Yeah, sweet. All right, that's good. Excited. All right, so here's what I would share with you. Last year in December, here was the outlook I gave you, okay? My prediction was if the market was flat, we all should be happy. And if the market was up single digits, we should be ecstatic, okay? Because I said you're resilient, you've been through this before, you're not in it for a great year, you're in it to build a great career. So it's time to chop wood, carry water. The reason why I shared this with you, and I didn't talk about this a lot throughout 23, but the business was down 35% from 22 to 23. Okay. And so 23 was a really, really tough year. Okay. Now, from 23 to 24, what I believe to be that we were at the bottom of the crest, here were my predictions. And my predictions were demand would be in our favor because of demographics, inventory would slightly rise, prices would continue to appreciate, and rates, my expectation were that they were going to get a little bit of a downshift by early 24. So how did we do? 2024 across the 5-county metro area, closed units were up 2.7%, closed volume was up 10.3%. Okay, and remember I said if the market was flat, we should be happy. If it was up single digits, we should be ecstatic. It was a good year for all things considered, all about perspective. Okay, new inventory units were up 3.8%, while new inventory dollar volume was up 12.4%. So the fact that new inventory outpaced closed units means we had a little bit of an alleviation from a supply standpoint. I'll talk about that here in a second. Prices. Prices appreciated depending on the geography, anywhere between 7 to 10% within southeastern Wisconsin, right? So boom, boom, boom. The only one I missed on was rates. It was a mixed bag of results. We had a little bit of relief in July and August where we saw some refi activity, but for the most part, rates stayed anywhere between 6.5 to 7.5% in 2024. Okay. So based on my research and what I was this was kind of what I thought would happen in 24, and it's kind of showed up as the way it did happen in 24. So you want to hear what happened in 25? Or what will happen in 25? Okay. This is what I'll share with you. First, I'm a consumer of content. Okay. I'm not going to pass this off as my own research. In the fall, I intentionally attended 4 presentations around the economy and housing and how they all play together. For this presentation, I baked 3 of them together, which was about 300-ish slides, and I baked them into about 30 slides to help give you guys a synopsis on what's going on at a macro level and what will happen here in the state of Wisconsin. So the first presentation was from Mark Epley at the Grascamp Center of Real Estate at Wisconsin School of Business in Madison. That was in October. Second one is I had an opportunity to hear from Brian Bulow, staying ahead of the curve from ITR Economics. And the last presentation was Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. So what I did is I baked the 3 of them together to try and get it, what's going on a big scale, and how do we understand what's going on locally here in our backyards. So first, and what you'll also see is there's lots of different formats of this, is because I'm just taking these presentations and repurposing them. I'm not, so you'll see different formats of things. But here's what you need to know. There's different economic cycles. Where are we based on industry? Housing currently is in a recovery, okay? Some industries such as financial and wholesale trades are in accelerated growth. Many of you probably noticed this based on your investments in the S&P 500 in the last year. Some of them are in slowing growth, such as medical, retail, oil and gas, and non-residential construction. And housing essentially is in a recovery phase, okay? When you go into an economic recession, the first thing into a recession is housing. The first thing out of an economic recession is housing, because the government uses housing to kickstart the economy, okay? So I broke this down into like 4 distinct parts to help you understand sales volume and inventory, supply, demand, pricing, okay? Sales volume and inventory, here's what you need to know. And I share this with you from a perspective standpoint. History has a tendency to repeat itself. What goes up must go down. What goes down must come up, right? So you can see here when we've had housing recessions, once you've hit the bottom, things start to bounce back. We're in a bounce back phase, which is why housing is in a recovery. You can see here last year we did right around, in a national scale, around 4 million units traded hands. Okay. Wisconsin residential sales were flat for 2023 to 2024, and it was a 12-year low. Now that's across the whole state. Southeastern Wisconsin, it was up 2.7%. That's an important key to remember, because I'll talk more about how the region is growing here in a second. Wisconsin's listing inventory was up 21% August of this year versus August of last year. You can see here, going back to 2017, how total inventory in the state of Wisconsin has basically trended, and now we're starting to trend up. And we'll talk to you a little bit why that is trending back up, which is positive for our business. And the housing supply inventory has loosened for sure. And this is broken down across 3 classifications. By the way, this is just the state of Wisconsin. So you have urban and rural classification based on months of supply, price point based on months of supply, and then region based on months of supply, okay? And let's just focus here based on region for a second. In the last 2 years in southeastern Wisconsin, we've basically dipped between 1.8 to 2.2 months of supply, okay? A balanced market is 6 months of supply. We need to have more than 6 months of supply for it to be a buyer's market, okay? We bumped up a little bit in 2024 of a loosening supply standpoint to 3 months of supply. The fact that it went from 2 to 3 seems significant from a percent change standpoint, but it's not significant enough for us to alleviate the pressures we're feeling from a demand standpoint, okay? Now, the positive news, and the reason why we've seen some alleviation in terms of the pressure we've seen on supply, is home builders are starting new home startups. You can see here during the period of crazy residential real estate from 2021 through 2023, builders weren't building a lot of homes. We've now since had a recovery on new housing startups, which is also impacting us here in the state of Wisconsin, where you can see new single-family housing permits by state is up in the state of Wisconsin last year by almost 8%. That's healthy for us because it helps alleviate supply. The other thing, specifically in southeastern Wisconsin, we've seen a lot of multifamily developments. Now, Many people don't consider multifamily developments as an alleviation of supply, but it is. It's a fact, it's a lever that municipalities can pull because someone who lives in a single family home who transitions into a multifamily unit development alleviates a housing supply. And it's very much a lever that municipalities pull when they're giving out permits, when they're thinking about multifamily homes. But for all intents and purposes, the reason why we've seen some supply alleviation is twofold. One, it's just more people that have held on to their real estate. It's just they're coming to decision points. And two, we've had more new construction coming in, new multifamily coming in southeastern Wisconsin. So the other aspect of this is that I alluded to is delayed sellers can't wait any longer because the locked-in effect to be less strong over time. What do I mean? 3.5 million new babies were born last year. 1.5 million marriages, 700,000 divorces, 3.5 million people turned 65, 2 million deaths, and 25 million job switches. All of that creates life events. All of it potentially creates real estate events, right? And so as these events are happening, the more time that goes on to people holding on to their real estate actually becomes easier for them to say, okay, now's the time I got to sell, right? Home prices. We've talked a lot about the appreciation. Blue line is US price appreciation. The red line is Wisconsin house price appreciation. As we've shared with you in the past, the blessing and the curse of living in Wisconsin is this. The highs aren't nearly as extreme and the lows aren't nearly as extreme. And this tells that story, right? It's a very safe and stable asset in the state of Wisconsin. When you consider across the Midwest year-over-year price increases, you can see the state of Wisconsin is effectively leading price appreciation as it relates to the US housing. And if you look at this even further, just going back 3 short years, home price appreciation since COVID of 2020 of Q1 to 2024 Q2, Wisconsin's average price appreciation is 54%. So someone who owned a $300,000 home in 2020, on average, it's worth $450,000 now in effectively 3 to 4 years, right? There's a lot of equity that can be unlocked, and helping people identify that equity can help alleviate some of the supply. Inflation in the macroeconomy, right? This is important because what's going on, housing goes in first and goes out first. So Fed desires to have inflation. Everybody was talking about Fed desires to have inflation down to 2.2%. Last year it was around 2.4. It means everything we heard for the last 2 years about inflation is the government starting to get that under control. Okay. And long-term real estate demand comes on 2 things. This says job, job, job. I also say people, people, people. Okay. You need people to fill the jobs. So population increases or decreases are important. If you look here, population growth from 2019 to 2023, Wisconsin's up 1.5%. You want to be in a state where population is growing, okay? When you look here at job gains since pre-COVID, jobs are up 2.3%. So not only do we have population that's growing, our job and employment factors are outpacing our population growth. What does that mean? It should further increase population growth because there's more jobs here than there are elsewhere, and the job growth is outpacing population growth. And so what happens when you look at it, it all is based on the impact of all of this impacts on employment. You can see here the red line is unemployment in the state of Wisconsin. While it is growing, unemployment is growing nationally, it is not growing at the same rate it is in the state of Wisconsin. And that divergent in the 2 graphs between blue and red is positive wind in our sales in 2020 as we head into 2025. How does this impact interest rates? Well, a couple things. One, no one wants to hear the story of like, well, when I was your age, I used to walk. No one cares. However, perspective is important. The perspective here is the average rate today is lower than the average of the decade before the Great Recession. Okay. And so the average, the decade before the Great Recession was 6.6. We are now at 6.09. John and Gustavo, you could probably tell us, where are we at today? 7. but historical average is 6.6. We're basically settling in from a rate environment into a new normal, right? And you're starting to see that where just consumers are now starting to, okay, this is just what the rates are. Got to transact real estate. So this is where you can help sellers unlock that equity. And also the reason why there's been such a lockup on the inventory, 77% of mortgages are below 5, 59% are below 4, 45% are below 3.5. A year ago, below 3.5 was over 60%. So you can see there's already that what has caused people to lock up or hold on to their homes has started to unlock a little bit as life events have occurred. Okay. So cumulative default rates, this is default on mortgages. A lot of people talked about during COVID, oh my gosh, people are going to go delinquent, this, that, and the other. The delinquency rate on mortgages right now is at 1%. Nothing to worry about. Housing demand and supply, household growth, which creates demand, continues to be strong. Housing supply has not kept up with the demand. And real estate generates 31% of total US household net worth. Now, here's something to pay attention to. And again, this is wind in your sails for the next 3 to 5 years within this business. From a demographic standpoint, the average age, or the largest demographic in the US labor force is 21 to 35. Okay, that's the millennial generation. They're just starting their journey into home ownership. Okay, they're just starting their journey. The average age of a first-time home buyer last year was 37.5. So you have this influx of people coming of age when real estate is now appropriate at their financial means to be able to afford. And so you have this huge influx of demand that will continue to push our housing industry forward. And the other thing that we've seen in the last 12 months is that now the cost of capital to acquire in terms of your mortgage is now more expensive than renting. Okay. The challenge in it, because I've heard this from many of you, is helping people understand the wealth comparison between owners and renters and helping build equity on their balance sheets, because it's all about time. Yes, it's more costly up front right now if you're a renter, or if you're a renter versus owning. However, the longer you stay in and owning that real estate, the more equity you build. It's about compounding interest and time in the market, right? So there is an element in this of our industry of how we help people understand and unlock the power of the wealth building opportunity through real estate versus the cost of just simply a mortgage versus renting, and helping people understand a long-term viewpoint on assets. So where do we think it's going to go? Existing home sales over the next 3 years will get back to pre-2019 levels, which is north of 5 million units. We think this year in 2025 across the US, we'll get to about just under 5 million units. If we get just under 5 million units, it means the industry's up around 10% plus. I'm just nervous to say that we're going to get to 20% plus. That would be insane. And every person who's looking at housing sale estimates, Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers Association, National Association of Home Builders, is very bullish on the next 3 years of our industry. So I share with you all that data to say, I did my research. I'm not bullshitting you. I didn't pull it up on ChatGPT, whatever it might be. So here is how I break it down for you. First, macro trends. We're seeing stabilizing mortgage rates and improved buyer demand. There's economic indicators of strong GDP and household growth, which will support long-term housing demand. Demand will continue to be strong in our favor. Our region in southeastern Wisconsin is growing, albeit slowly. The labor demographics continue to be in our favor. Okay, sales and inventory opportunities will emerge with inventory levels thawing, and migration patterns are in our favor in Wisconsin. The example I use of that, if you drive to Chicago today, it looks very different than if you drove to Chicago 5 years ago. The MS7, MMAC, and the Economic Development Corp has done a really nice job of trying to grow the region. And that southeastern corridor of 43 heading to Illinois is a great example of that, and job creation it creates. Our region's growing, and so that will continue to help create both demand and supply. Sales and inventory, I talked about that. Price trends, I continue to see steady appreciation, provides confidence in housing investments, continuing to outpace inflation. And multifamily insights, we currently sitting in a market in southeastern Wisconsin where multifamily might be a bit overbuilt and there might be an excess of supply. Use the example of the amount of apartment towers that have gone up in the last 2 years in downtown. You have the Couture, you have the brand new building at 833 across from the public market. You have Tim Gochman's new building, the Mass Timber building. He's building another one of those on Prospect. That will put some pressure on renting versus owning. Okay. And yet the power of the story we tell about unlocking wealth potential by owning real estate will be our rallying cry. The challenge is because they've overbuilt the market, those rental prices are probably going to come down. Okay. So what am I predicting for 2025? Here is what you need to know. I think closed units, I'd be hard pressed to say they're going to be up 10 to 20%. I'm going to go say, look, if they're up 5 to 8%, we should be happy again. If they're up 10%, we should be ecstatic. I think closed dollar volume in terms of appreciation will be up plus 7% or more. I continue to see all the demand factors increasing and doing well, where appreciation will continue to go. I do expect a downshift that will create an opportunity for a refi environment from a rates perspective. Whenever an administration turns over, they look for quick wins. Okay. And so what I think you'll see is they're going to look for a quick win, which will jumpstart the housing economy. And I think if we see rates closer to 6, God forbid, like 5.8 or 5.9, first of all, this thing will be humming. Second of all, it's a great opportunity for you to reach back out from a lead generation standpoint to your clients that have bought with you in the last 2 to 3 years to help them unlock the refi. I'd pay attention to that. Next, housing is an asset. People will continue to value owning a home. There will be new home ownership opportunities. And this is something that I really believe is going to happen here in the next 3 to 5 years. I think there will be an influx of young investors entering the market. A big influx of young investors. I think that they've all entered the labor market at a time when labor and what people are getting paid has been on the rise. And if they're buying their first home at 37, they're probably sitting on a bunch of money and they're looking at where do I dump the money into. And I think there will be a huge opportunity for new investors in the market. And then regional population. Look, I say Midwest on the slide. I'm going to tell you Wisconsin as a region. I think it's going to continue to grow. The amount of economic activity of businesses moving across the border into Wisconsin, the tax advantageous state that we have for corporates is positive for us. It means more jobs, more people, which is all good for our businesses. And the other thing that we should all be paying attention to, and if you haven't experienced it yet, you will, because I very much know buyers that have entered this market for this exact reason, is that we have a low incidence of natural disaster and abundance of fresh water. It's true. And I will tell you, a personal friend of mine left California 9 to 12 months ago because they were tired of moving their family out in the fall with young kids who were supposed to be in school and having to live in a hotel for 6 weeks before the fires. They moved to Wisconsin, never having been to Wisconsin because of low incidence of natural disaster of fresh water. And I think that Midwest as a whole, just the Great Lakes region, that will be a big boon to our residential real estate values in the long term.
Those are federal partners in California.
Arizona.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and seriously, it's bad in Texas too. I mean, you guarantee at least a week every for floods, for freezes, for things, catastrophes. We've got hurricanes, tornadoes. Yeah, we got hit by tornadoes in July, really bad.
So there you go. Those are my 2025 predictions. I'm very bullish on the industry, very bullish on the housing market here in Wisconsin. I think we're in a really good environment for continued growth. And I think it'll allow us to take advantage of it. Cool. Love it. Yes, Mr. Krickenberg.
One comment I had is I saw your 2024 prediction, you said first-time homebuyers make up 40%. Actually, read my dad gave me days this morning. It's actually 24%.
Yeah, it went down.
The lowest by like a ton in the last couple of decades. So between that and the average age of homebuyers going up, and like it's clear that there's a gap for young people. I think that creates an opportunity for us on how we're going. Some of the best.
Yeah, home buyer seminars needs to really start coming back and getting in front of like colleges and schools. You know, I would highly suggest that.
I think too, part of that, James, affordability has been an issue of like price appreciation the last 3 years and rates going up in the last 3 years. And I'll just take my brother who's 31. He's like, I can't afford, like the house I wanted to afford 3 years ago, I can't afford now at a 7% rate. And so I got to rethink how I'm, approaching this. But all that demand, what I'm saying on that whole thing from a demographic standpoint, all that demand is just delayed decisions. So now those people are getting older. They're not going away. They still need a place to live. It's just their decision tree has gotten longer. And so that's why I say in the next 5 years, like that demand isn't just like exiting the market. They're just delaying the market. We've just felt the pressure of that delayed decision over the last 2 years. Yeah, it's a great point. I thought it would go up last year because I expected rates to come down by May, and because they didn't. I mean, just anecdotally, May sucked, June sucked, because everybody thought rates would come down. And then all of a sudden, when they didn't, and people understood that that's where it was, July and August for our industry were great. So, yeah, cool. All right. With that, there's your Tuesday team meeting. I know the ladies have a great lunch planned for downstairs, and feel free to mingle and hang out. And welcome Dana, and I know Dana will be looking forward to grab some time on your guys' calendar.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Wait. Bigger. We got one more thing.
Ash called me, no.
Was trying to skip this.
Trying to skip this.
Oh, I was trying to like move this along. Like, all right, we're good.
So every year the Milwaukee Business Journal has a 40 under 40. This year there was over 400 applicants that applied for this honor, and the one and only Charlie Stale was nominated for this, which is a huge honor. I believe it might have been the only person in real estate, because it's not just like top 40 realtors. This is the top 40 in any business, the top 40 business leaders in the Milwaukee area. So Charlie was nominated for that. And how many years do you have to spare? 2?
Yeah, about 2 years.
2 years to spare. So, I mean, if you didn't get it this year, you would have gotten it next year. But really, really big honor. So just everyone, please give him a round of applause. So funny you trying to sneak out of that. But congratulations.
Look, I'm really deeply honored and incredibly grateful. I very much was grown up in a household of like, to whom much is given, much is expected. And, not only of the success like that we've done with KW, but I think it's also a testament like the effort they've done with Boys and Girls Club. I sit on the Axe Housing Acquisitions Board. I help charter school on the south side, building a campus on the north side called St. Mike Prep. And it's a big honor for me, and I'd say a reflection of my parents, of just, how we take, what we've built and been given, but also how do we make our communities better. And I'm incredibly honored and grateful, and I was really trying to speed past to skip this. But it is, and it's an honor to serve you guys too. And it's a testament to like the teams we have and the people and the communities that we've built through the KW platform. And I would also tell you selfishly, I've been following this list for the last 10 years, and I'm a competitive person. And I would always look at it and be like, all right, I got to do more.